Good evening, everybody,
Okay.
and welcome to this edition of the Librarian Speaks. As always, I am the designated extrovert of the Carter Johnson Librarian Collection, Matthew Carey, and we are here this evening with Mama Vi, as always. We have an extra special addition to the show tonight, though. Tonight, we are adding Mistress Mir to the conversation, and we are going to discuss To Love, to Obey, to Serve. But before we get to the stories from the book, and Rin Jackson, was it? We are going to get a little bit of history from Mir, which is fascinating. I cannot wait to hear this. So we are just going to jump right in. Now, ma'am, I understand that you are from
Yes.
Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to start with, tell me about being a Philly girl.
Well, I was born in Philadelphia. My mother just made it out of high school. Literally, she was 3 months pregnant with me when she graduated. I was in the poorest section, as you would say, of North Philadelphia. You want me to start from where and how and what that led me to this point? I want to give you some information as to what makes me and what makes up me, okay?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
maybe you can evaluate from listening to me a little bit of yourself in understanding how things materialize. I went to Dobbins Tech. I went to a technical school, and it's kind of strange for me to be looking. Do I look at you, Vi? Because I don't know. It's awkward for me to be talking. Usually I talk and I'm like this, I'm like all over the place. Okay, I went to technical school so I could get out of North Philadelphia. I graduated from there, and then I got a job with the Insurance North America. There I was a file cabinet girl. In fact, Kennedy was shot. I remember, and I was standing there filing at the time, and it's amazing what the tone of the building got when everyone found out that he was shot. Then from there, I found out about a job that was the Internal Revenue. Now, but I found that out through girls who had worked there at the insurance company. They were having offers for the first time. This is the first year that they computerized IRS. So I applied. I was very fast in typing. So in doing so, I became a verifier. And I had to go up into the northeast area of Philadelphia, which took me approximately at least an hour by transportation. From there, I worked for them approximately about 4 months, and they laid everyone off.
Oh, no.
Now remember, I'm still in Philadelphia. So now I am working there at the Internal Revenue, and I had to find another job, which I heard from other girls that Insurance Company North America, Insurance America, Internal Revenue. And then I heard about the railroad. Now I had two uncles that were railroad people from the very, very beginning. And one of them were my godfather. At that time, railroad was very family. In a sense, if someone worked there, you could probably get a job. A very Irish attitude, which was lucky for me because I went and applied. But when I went to apply, I was doing the IRS in typing because we had to pre-code titles and capitals, etc., etc. So I was doing that while I was typing very quickly. So they told me at the railroad, would you go back and practice and come back to us
Things when my
to
mother
take
passed,
the
and
test?
my dad.
Now you're not going to find that happening. Okay. So I went back to my high school and I asked, and my teacher was there, and I asked her, could I practice? Then I went back to the railroads and I took the test and I passed. I worked there for numerous years. We would say approximately about 14. During those years, I had a lot of fun. And you know what I'm going to say about a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in the sense where I lived. I lived in Center City. So that means if I got too high, I can always walk home. Okay. From that time there, I was meeting some very interesting characters of people. And I had a lot of sex. Okay, then this is what I'm going to say. I had a lot of sex, but I enjoyed myself. At that time, we didn't have to put on 3 condoms, etc., etc. But we did protect ourselves to a degree. And I got interested in some people that were having parties. They were doing swinging stuff, but that was swinging. It was beyond the time when they dropped the keys in the bowl. They were meeting and everything at that time.
Ma'am.
Let me see. Pardon me?
Ma'am, I want to,
Yes.
before you slide into that topic, I just have to comment. If I didn't think the IRS was intimidating enough, being a verifier just sounds, that's like, that's got to be the best title at the IRS, right?
Well, you know what? I had to, yeah, you know what I mean? Those files, and we had stacks of them. Stacks, literally stacks we had to go through per day. So that was a lot of work.
I'm
right.
the verifier.
But we were like, yeah, and also, excuse me, I found a doctor that was helping us with our weight problem at that time. As you say, Valley of the Dolls. Well, he was good. I was dropping weight and my hands were flying very quickly. I'm serious. And then he's still, just so happened, you know what, I remember his name, Dr. Ginsburg. He passed, but before that, I said, what happens if you do pass? What do we do? He says, I don't know. He says, please do not send any more girls from your job. And I went, okay, no problem. I won't send any more over. But for a few years, I visit him on a regular basis. I'm trying to think the segments of where I was at. I was still in Philadelphia, and I'm trying to think. Go back. I'm going back. Oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure out how much I want to say and what I don't want to say, but I'd like to give you a lot of the main little things that makes me who I am. During the time when I worked, let's go back a little bit. During the time that I worked at, not before the Internal Revenue, but I worked at the insurance company North America, and I came out and I saw girls dressed very nicely, and I asked, why you dressed up? It's time to go home. She said, oh, we're USO. And I went, USO? How do you get into that or do that? And I went, oh, you just get nice. You come here, you meet so-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, and a bus will come and take you. Well, that was a very interesting part of my life. Okay. I was there next Friday. And where they took us, they went to Fort Dix. Um, uh, well, the girls were a little raunchy, okay? A couple of my friends from the office decided to go along with me. Well, that led to maybe getting a bottle of vodka before we get on the bus, and we sort of hid it. So we drank a little bit before we got to Fort. Now, Fort Dix from Philadelphia is not that far away. So we had this whole stories with these women were amazing. But to actually go to different clubs, and after a while, you start knowing which club was a good one, which one was so-so. The the guys would be standing outside, and here you come out, and you're dressed to the nines, right? And you're feeling a little bit good, and dancing with guys from every borough of New York and Jersey. And it's amazing to meet so many men who wanted to talk and just dance that dance with you. And there was one ugly experience that I had with a friend, I won't say her name. And we sort of had to carry her somewhat off the bus. And our sponsor sort of knew something was wrong. So we took her right to the bathroom. And we told her to try to spit up and all that and everything. So, are you okay? Are you okay? We have to get out. We have to go back in. And she didn't say anything. Then we were on our knees looking underneath the stall. Then we were trying to look over top of the stall. It got to be crazy because she locked the door when she went in, because we had to beg for her to unlock the door. This was a very interesting experience because I think she knew something was wrong, our sponsor. And during that night, she said, would you like to go home? And she sent us home with a driver who was a sergeant, back to her house safely. That was just a crazy, I just wandered off on that, but that's part of my crazy USO days, but we had a lot of good times there too.
So you were telling us, you were starting to tell
A lot of
us.
my race, you read it very easily about me, about the fact that I went from swinging into the scene. I will give you a little more information about the swinging part, because that was a large influence about me becoming who I am at a certain point. Boy, that was some nice times. There were so many. It's kind of hard to focus in because the way I'm talking to you now is through pictures in my mind. So that's why I'm pausing and I'm getting these starry-eyed looks and everything, because I'm trying to think of things in sequence. I didn't want to write things down because I didn't want to go through a script, anything like that. So the swinging part became almost, it was in Jersey. In fact, it was outside. We got a ride, so it was outside Atlantic City, in Abasecon or something like that. Isn't the town named that by Abasecon, something like that? The gentleman had a big farm type place, and we had a lot of parties there. Then I found out about a certain particular party, a wonderful lady by the name of JoJo in New York City. She had the first leather store right near Chelsea. We should say off of, help me. Do you remember that times?
Mama, you're muted.
Bye.
It was right on the dock strip, down the street.
Yeah, it was.
between the Ramrod and Badlands. It was called the Underground.
Yes, it was called the Underground. And there was a couple of gay bars on both sides of it.
Yep.
All right. And JoJo became a friend. So I found this woman and she said that she had events at clubs downtown and that she would love for me to come down and enjoy. So what they were doing, they were having food brought in. I think it was more like a small club where you can dance and meet other people. There was a bar, there was liquor in that respect. And at this one of these events, I met my first master. I remember sitting at the bar and looking over, and it was this big burly guy. I mean, motorcycle big. Okay, hardly no hair on his head. Well, he was bald. He was bald, and his name was Billy. And someone came over and told me that this gentleman was interested in seeing you. Okay, I said, well, I live in Philadelphia, so it's not that easy for me to flip down. I was using everybody else's passes besides myself to get to New York. Okay, you know, I was begging for passes at certain times. I think they gave us like 10. That didn't last too long, especially when you were running, especially if you're running every week. So I made arrangements with the gentleman. I sat down, talked to him, and he said that he was into B&D and S&M. And I sort of like somewhat smiled because I've heard the words before. I really wasn't that interested at the time about what it was. And I remember a few months back that I met this girl at one of the clubs, and she said to me, I got this guy I want you to meet. I said, yeah, okay, I'll meet him, yes. She says, he said, all right, bring him over to your apartment. And okay. One of the funniest moments in my life was when he turned around and said to me, are you into B&D and S&M? And I turned around and said to him, I'm not into any of that shit. Now, don't quote me on that, but I do remember saying that to this gentleman. Now we forward back to Billy. I had a date with him, a dinner date. So I couldn't wait for that week to get over with. And I was heading up to New York. Okay. In fact, I have pictures of that night also. So you know whereby I do have pictures. No, you weren't yet, not yet, not yet. So this is my first night. This is my first night, okay? And he sort of wined me and he took me out, and I mean dined me from soup to nuts. Came back, and he knew I was a swinger, and he knew I had some knowledge with swinging and stuff like that, and that he wanted to incorporate some B&D. So I didn't know anything whatsoever about that. And he started to explain, but when he explained, he incorporated it to be a very sexual situation. This was not hard for me to grasp because I had been swinging for several years. So for him to go and say to me that we're going to have a wonderful encounter and you're not going to come until dawn. And I went, oh, there. Now, listen, now you can imagine I had on a little sexy outfit, which was a little corset type soft Lady Marlene type of thing with stockings and garters and stuff like that, and heels. And I had a do on my head that was soft. Let me tell you, if I laid down and screwed 3 people, that hairdo would not have moved at all. Okay. So, well, my first encounter was to being fastened down with Billy going down on me until dawn. And he turns around and says something about the fact that dawn, and now I'll let you come. That was my very first encounter in the scene. Over the weekend, he didn't have a lot of toys or anything. He had just some simple cuffs, some basic, very few basic things. And I have a picture in my album of myself naked, attached to a doorknob with a tie over my hair. That means I took a shower, and I like to tie my hair up where my hair was that short anyhow. I had 3 encounters with him over the weekend that was very, very strong and very enticing. And in fact, it had convinced me that I really enjoy this world of B&D. I don't remember much more from that I went back and forth to see him. And the interesting thing is that the world was wide open at that time. So all the people couldn't understand why I was putting on clothes and they were taking it off. So it was like, you ever go into a barn and you got the best of all the chickens and everything? Well, that's the way it was for me. I had guys, husbands, or whatever they were, coming over, introducing their ladies to me, et cetera, et cetera. I walked around with my little fuck harness on. I had many, many sweet encounters with other women. I've always been into other women. I left out part about myself first being introduced by my best friend for her wedding. I left that part out because that was my very first sexual encounter with a woman. And she threw me down on the bed, and she was getting married. And she came over to do some favors, if I remember right. She threw me down, and I flipped her and I said, "Do you know what you're doing?" It's funny how I remember these sharp phrases that I come out and say. And she said, "Uh-huh." And that was that. Okay. So going back, I had a lot of interesting B&D things happen to me with Billy, which Billy really set me into enjoying edge play, which I didn't know the word edge play. I just thought this was just good scene stuff. I mean, we played with guns. We played with fire. We played with, Jesus, I want to tell you. There's some things that he used internally that I'm not going to discuss now. But everything was, as we call, yeah, Matthew?
I'm sorry. 2 things.
Is he grunted?
No,
Yes.
I say ma'am. Number 1, this is going on YouTube, so let's try to keep it so we don't get it censored, please. I'm not complaining in one little bit. But
you didn't tell me.
I did.
That this was going on YouTube.
We can discuss that afterwards. I don't want to interrupt you at all.
You might have to make that one private.
It may be. I just have one question for where you're at right now. Is it safe to say, after that first encounter, that you were into all that shit?
You know, I could have abbreviated this. Thanks for telling me that now, Matthew.
Ma'am, it won't
When
go
you
up if you don't want it to go up. Just go right on ahead.
You can edit, okay?
Okay.
If you can.
We'll
Oh
give
my
Shar
God.
we'll give Shar the beat button. It'll be fun. Please continue.
Okay, let's go into a broader way of saying this. Now I really got a sense. I had to censor my own self. This
No,
is going to be
no, don't censor.
Why? Don't shake your head.
Don't censor. Just
Can
keep
someone
it.
edit?
Sure
this?
can edit this.
We can edit it, but we don't want to bleep the whole thing. So just keep it concise. How's that?
But I've always been a precise person. So I'm going to tell you exactly as much as I can.
But you do you, and we'll figure it out, ma'am.
Now you really got me in the bind. Okay, so that was my first encounter with Billy. What we did, we took pictures also. And at that time, you really didn't have a chance to get the pictures developed at your local pharmacy or wherever we took the pictures.
Photo map.
So he did a lot of the development himself, and we took wonderful shots. But a lot of the shots that we did take were me looking very dominant. Even with my harness, I didn't have many outfits, but when my harness on, stand there with a whip and posing and stuff like that. So Billy was a very, very strong influence on how I entered the scene. Okay. So when I come back on Sunday nights, I check my mail, and there I found a letter from I had ads in also, a letter from a gentleman, and I was surprised about his zip code. His zip code was the same as mine. And I went, I opened up, and here was a gentleman by the name of Thomas. He was no more than a block and a half from me. He didn't know I was that close either. So I went over to his apartment. I answered it. I went over to his apartment, and that's the first time I got a chance to really see toys, lots of little toys. A lot of the toys he made himself. The thing is, the first time when I went over there is the fact that he had everything laid out on the bed. So, it was like all eyes and in wonderment. And of course, he wanted to put a few things on me. That happened. We became very close. Now, meanwhile, I was still seeing Billy after all this time. And to the point where I had to say, I found someone else that was a little more progressive in what I needed in the scene, okay? In a sense of having rules. And this is the first time I actually had a chance to understand what the rules of being a submissive, and et cetera, et cetera. And you had to remember certain things. So I slipped from Billy into Thomas. From Thomas, he knew I was working the railroad, but Thomas wanted to go out to Colorado to do some PR business for some early skiing places. So I think I made 2 trips out. Well, they were fun, nothing like wearing stockings and garters in the car. And you do remember that, Vi, don't you?
She said yes, ma'am. She's muted.
I'm backflash. Yeah, we do remember that. Yeah, I started earlier. then you're fine. Yeah, I was a little slut. I love it. So it's nothing like, waving to the tractor trailer guys, and they're going, brr, brr, and that was fun to do. That's a long ways now from Philly to Colorado. That's the first time I really got a chance to see how a little bit more of the United States, or I really didn't have a chance to see before. I made a couple trips out there with him. Then I got a leave of absence from my job from the railroad by my doctor. And I went out with him. There we set up in a very nice apartment, a very high-rise apartment. And he wanted to open up a store there. And I told him that I knew how to work leather. I knew how to not tan it, but color it, edge it, polish. I did all the finishing touches to leather. So I knew what good toys look like and bad toys look like. So he says, I found this printing place. We can get it for a song. How about we have a store? Well, the store became My Fantasy. It was called My Fantasy. And a lot of work was put into that store. From the sheet, we had a sheetrock, everything. We made the arches. Thomas knew that I knew how to work with leather, so he got me supplies. So we had 3 sections to that store. The front section was like photography, and that you could buy photography. The second section that you walk in was toys that we got from the Pleasure Chest in New York City, which I ordered directly from them. So I got the little frilly outfits and everything. So I had that part with a few mags and everything. But behind a door that we built that looked like a gigantic dungeon door was our B&D and S&M section. You have to request it to go back there. And what we did was we had toys that we boxed and we made boxes. We set up against the wall. So we had shelves, irregular, like all on the walls of all kinds of toys that you could buy. Had that store for a while. I don't know how long right now. My memory, it passes me how long I was there at that store with that. But one day I had a visit by 2 gentlemen, and they said, "Oh, how are you?" Fine. They introduced themselves. We have a place that you can buy some things. And where are you? And where am I getting my supplies from? Of course, that was the syndicate. Okay. There was another store in Denver at the time, and it was mostly male gay type of place. Okay. So, our store was more heterosexual and swinging, etc., etc. I went to that warehouse, and let me tell you, it was absolutely a mind. It was amazing. I mean, I never seen thousands and thousands of magazines all stacked on low pedestals, like low platforms, and just stacked. You rode around with a cart and you just threw in what you want. That was my first experience of really seeing how much there was out there, because all I knew was my, the Pleasure Chest out of New York City. I was with Thomas for approximately, a little under, I say 3 years, about that. Where do you want me to go from here?
how big would you say that store was that you just went to and described? Give us an idea.
Okay, it was a printing shop. It was a printing shop.
Okay.
So it had a front section, big enough that people can wander, big enough for you to have a meeting in that room, which I had for cross dressers. It was a club. They came in and approached me. Can they have a meeting there? And I said, no problem. So that's how big the room is to put chairs around. That was the first section. And then the second section was even bigger. Now the third section in the back, where all our things were, you know, B&D stuff, I would say, out of my imagination, it was smaller than the middle room, which was very large. What I had done there was that I actually done a lot of transformations. I have an appointment for someone to come through. I would change them with a slight, you know, tribute. And then I allow them, when I open the store up, to walk around dressed in makeup for like an hour. And then they will go back and they would change their clothes and leave. But I had a lot of connections with cross dressers, which was very nice. Very, very nice. I'm trying to think where I would go from there.
Well, Colorado in the store. How long did you have the store?
Yep.
3 years?
Maybe 2.
Okay.
Maybe 2. I would say maybe 2. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But when I left Colorado, our relationship was shifting. And I came back east again.
So that's what
At
gets you
that
back to
time.
the East Coast.
Yes, I came back. You know what? And everybody says, don't do it, but I did. I went back to my mother, and my mother treated me like I was 16 years old. I had to get out of there. You know, I had to get out of that house. And then I went back to JoJo's. And JoJo offered me like a half bed in this room. It wasn't even, I mean, this one did not know how to keep a house. Okay. So that sort of like get me a little crazy. I can only straighten up so much. I stayed with her maybe, I'm guessing 3 or 4 months. Met a lot of people who she knew at the time. But at that time, what I started to do was to look for a place of my own, which I found in West New York, New Jersey, off of 60th and West Boulevard East. That's what it was. I found out about this job at the castle. There I was working there to pay for the rent. Okay, put it that way. Okay, bye, you start getting a smirk on your face.
Ma'am, I do have a question if I can real quick.
Huh?
I have a question real quick. Where are we in your journey here? You started as submissive, correct? And then you transitioned to the top.
You know what? I always had a split head.
Okay.
I always had a split head. When I was with Billy, I had my first opportunity to top someone. And this man was the one that started Plato's. No, he was affiliated with Plato's Retreat. When I was with Billy, we used to go to a particular home apartment, a big apartment, and these people, they were swinging, we swung there. But when I was with Billy, I had a mix between B&D and swinging, okay? I knew the first people who formed Plato's Retreat. In fact, they were the ones who I went to their house. So I really had a nice blend of swinging and B&D at that time. So when I started working, I knew a lot of the basic stuff that I need to know about B&D. And on Wednesday night, we were required to do a live show. I had one of the guys that I met come be my submissive performer, and he was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. He was fluid, he moved, and he wasn't gay either. So he was like a ballet star, the way he moved on stage. So one night, that's when Vi met me, but I didn't know I was meeting Vi. How's that?
Just
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Wait, before you go on.
Go ahead, Vi. Now you can come in now.
I'm getting.
I left out a few. I jumped a couple spots there, being that this is going to go.
Everybody is hanging on every word. I have been switching out to the gallery view to watch.
Oh, I have so much to say that I can't say. It'd be different if I was sitting in your living room, Matthew.
We'll make that happen.
And we were sitting around. Then it would go on for 3 or 4 hours. Okay.
I have a quick question.
And I would give you a lot of detail. I had to sit up and sort of like censor myself.
It's been fantastic.
On certain things.
Now I'm getting a question. I'm getting a question here, and I'm dying to ask it, and I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to ask this as innocuously as I can. Can you give me approximate age when you went to Colorado, just so everybody kind of has an idea?
Oh, about 25.
25. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So
yeah, now, I got in the scene later. You think I was in the scene maybe 2020? Don't forget, I worked at the castle, so I had to be 21.
Right. I think everybody's just trying to set the image in their head. So we're just trying to go there. Now, we are up to the point where you and Vi connect. Is that correct?
Well, I didn't know Vi.
But we're getting there. So let me get some questions in on what you've talked about so far, and maybe we'll get some more of those details.
Okay, good. And because it's been quiet. I feed on questions, love.
You have been fantastic, and I was not going to interrupt while you were talking about something good.
I wish you would.
And the faces you are making while you are remembering the stuff are priceless.
Oh.
Okay, guys, who's got some questions that we can get in here? We've got Mir's history. Everybody is talking about how awesome this is. I hope everybody is having a great time. I know I am. We got the age. No questions. Everybody just wants you to keep going, I think. I expected there to be lots of questions, and everybody is just hanging.
You can ask at the end.
Okay. We're going to go on. Because now we are up to the point where the two ladies on the screen intersect. And I want to hear, I want Mama to tell the story of meeting Mir. And then I would like Mir to tell her story of the same interaction, because I want to hear both sides.
Oh, I didn't know. No. Vi, did we communicate that day?
Only a little.
Yeah.
It was far too worried.
I don't remember it.
I went home. Oh, I do. Oh, I do. Let me back this up a bit to explain the castle and the other professional houses of domination. New York had any one of a number of them, and one night a week, each one of them had an open house where the public was invited to come watch some incredible scenes between the women who were there, occasionally clients, often with each other, and then afterwards be free to talk, chat, ask questions. Now, the woman that I was serving said, we were going to go catch the show at the castle. Okay. She was sitting on the aisle chair, and I was sitting on the floor, just trying very hard to stay out of the aisle. Now, for all slaves and submissives who have sat on the floor and viewed a scene from either a lower than eye level or above eye level, the perspectives of what you see are actually very different. Now, a couple of scenes had happened, all very good, and a set of legs started walking down the aisle, and the legs just went on and on and on and on. They were encased in a black leather, thigh-high boots, probably a 5-inch heel. Now, Mir has very long legs anyway, and the legs just kept walking. And the legs walked past me, and did I mention there were these legs? Now,
You said it about 10 times, Vi. I mean, like, you know.
In watching these legs come down the aisle past me and up to the stage, I completely forgot about the woman who actually owned my leash. After the event, after the night was over and it was free chat, she said, well, since you're so enamored with the legs, let me go introduce you, which she did. That day, I made a friend who I still have 40 years later. Now, in the midst of that, I say friend, but I also say mistress, because I've had the privilege of serving her. And for those who have read To Love, to Obey, to Serve, because at the time the book came out, she wanted to kill me, and therefore I couldn't use her real name, and everybody and their brother was trying to figure out who Wren Jackson was.
Which Jackson was my maiden name.
It had to be a name I would remember.
Yes, that's what you did.
One day we did a presentation together for the Lesbian Sex Mafia, LSM. And she was the one who said, for those of you who are curious, I'm Wren Jackson. And once she said it, I could tell the world. So for those of you who have read To Love, to Obey, to Serve, the last 3 years of that book are with the woman you're looking at. Well, anyhow, I met her. Catherine and I went home. There are 2 ass kickings I remember in my life above all. Catherine gave me one over Mir's legs, and forgetting who I was, where I was, and what I was supposed to be doing. And Mir gave me the other one over a scene after the scene. And that is a story that only she can tell, if she's going to. But anyway, that's how we met.
Which one?
Okay.
Which one? Being that this is going to be like, there's a lot of stuff that we can't even put across the airways.
Okay, I am writing down beatings. We will come back to beatings. Mir, I would love to hear
which beating?
I would love to hear your side of your all's meeting, whatever you remember.
But I remember all the sex stuff with Vi. To be truthful, that's seriously. I mean, like, a lot of our playing was very erotic, but it was tuned in very sexual, very I can be a sadist, but I'm not a sadist. I'm only a sadist if I have a true masochist in front of me. So our scenes were very, very erotic. Do you agree, Vi, even though I may kick your ass to the ground? I
You're muted,
believe,
Mama.
yeah. Huh?
Erotic is only part of it. Very few people have the capacity to climb inside my brain. And if my brain is not engaged, two things have to be engaged for me to serve someone. My brain has to be engaged and my heart has to be engaged because I don't play randomly. So if I do not love you, I cannot serve you. And we got together because of a tragic point in my life. And every time I wanted to lose my mind, Mir was there. And the collar just happened naturally because of that. But as to eroticism, she can climb inside a head, make scrambled eggs of the brains, have them with fava beans and Chianti and come out and go, are you okay? And I still melt.
Or better yet,
I'm
laughing about it.
On that note, I want to share something with you, ma'am, and something I'm going to share a little personal thing from when we talked on the phone. 2 episodes ago, we were discussing the book, and Mama was she told that story that she just told, and everyone says, who is Mr. Smear? We know you have photos. And
yeah, I got some.
I
got some people that
somebody Google searched and found mistressmear.com and a Google image search, and everybody in this meeting, you could watch them on their screens going, ooh, they were just losing themselves in the pictures. And for the folks that I just told that story on, I'm going to share one of mine. And I have a request for Mr. Smear. When I spoke to you on the phone the first time, I was not prepared for the voice. And you got me right off the bat. And we got off the phone, and I called by and I said, you didn't mention the voice. You told me about the legs. You didn't mention the voice. A warning would have been nice. So the next time I called you, I had steeled myself so I could get through it. And we were smooth the whole way through. And at the end of the conversation, I had you on speakerphone, and we were talking to, Shar and I were talking to you. And we wrapped up, and you said, bye-bye. And my knees buckled. And my slave, who will give me shit as quick as anybody else on this planet, didn't give me a hard time. She looked up at me and went, yeah, me too. So what I have as a request right now is, could you give a little bit of that voice to the audience?
Shit all dirty. Do I need something dirty or something like that?
No, it doesn't have to be dirty. Just I am
I don't have anything. I was not expecting that.
Lady, you could read a phone book and make it sound obscene.
I know there's a Mistress Mere voice. I just a little sample, please, ma'am.
I don't even think about it. All right. Okay, Vi, let me talk to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're sitting there with your hands. Well, I only see one hand. Where's your other hand, Vi? Okay, good. So you're being a good girl right now, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're listening?
Yes.
What I'm going to say to you, Vi, is the fact that you should not be shaking now. You shouldn't. Why do you want to close your eyes, Vi? You should look directly at me. Or do you not want to look at me?
Whether my eyes are open or closed, I am always looking at you.
Okay. That's probably enough for the video. Goodness gracious.
Well,
Somebody
But that
killed
was
me. I
real.
ain't never been dead before. Did y'all hear that?
Wow.
That moved me, and I'm a gay man.
Mir, you almost made me drop to my damn knees.
Wow.
Oh,
Shut up now.
I just wanted to thank you very
Matthew,
much.
I need to come down to Tennessee.
Does anybody else need a break?
I need to
Maybe
come down
4 or
to
5 minutes?
Tennessee and
Yes, you
talk to you
do.
directly.
Yes, you do. And I'm going to call you so we can talk about that.
There you go, D. That's why I love D right there.
And make a bike go up. Is that what you're trying to say? We could make a little, little trip, little side trip going north.
We could probably make that
At the
happen.
Grand Ole Opry. I was down there at the Grand Ole Opry. We had a ball.
Carl
Yeah.
says, help, I need an adult.
Okay, bye.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Where do we go from here?
So now we're in the book, and I have linked it. I think I've probably still got it copy and pasted. There you go, folks. To Love to Obey to Serve is available again. It's not $900 or $1,200 on Amazon. It is available for you, and it directly benefits the Carter Johnson Librarian Collection. Thank you very much, everybody who went and got a copy already. Please tell your friends. It's out there again, and it's reasonably priced. Ma'ams, you two, you take this where you think it should go. Now, does anybody have any Ren Jackson entries in the journal that they would just love to ask about right now? Pandora
easy.
says she'll sell her copy for $1,200 right now if they want it. She says if somebody gives $1,200 for it, she'll give it to the library. I could go with that.
That's good.
I believe Mama has some bookmarks.
For those who have never thought about it, this Russian space station, which is now the Universal Space Station, is called Space Station Mir. The word Mir in Russian means peace.
Peace. Okay. Someone asked me that's what you need to incorporate those things like that, but then I'll get flashbacks. It was hard for me to keep on track there because I had to bleep myself. I was in bed with a guy and he said to me, what are you going to call yourself? And you know how those moments are, we sort of like look up and you think about it for maybe a second or two. And I knew my name was Miriam, which I never changed my name. And went Mir, not knowing what Mir meant. Not M-E-R German, M-I-R. Okay, that's how I became Mir, in bed with a guy. I don't even know who this person is, but at least he got me to get my name.
That's priceless.
That's how that happened.
Can we hear a little bit about early Mistress Mir and what the scene was like at that point in time?
Well, early part of Mir was okay. That was, so we should go into Thomas then. When I was in Colorado, that's early Mir. It was wonderful to actually be with someone that had structure in the scene, who actually had feelings for it beyond the cliche in the bed or out the bed. Okay, so that was why I was attracted to Thomas for that period of time. At that time, we went looking for another person as a third party. We went through that situation. I have some diary entries that, a few of them. I have a few of them that I hand typed from my little book, where we went looking for a person before we found this other girl in an ad, and she was from Boston. I was dancing with her a lot at this club. I saw her a couple times at this club. The good clubs to dance in Colorado were the gay boy clubs. The music was good and everything like that. And so I was intrigued by this lady. I found out that she was just a dancer, but not a professional dancer, but a dancer for men. So my first encounter of having her over was to have her over for lunch. I knew she had a couple kids, so she only had a short period of time to spend with me. And I got photos. If you can imagine being alone with this ultra sexy woman, and you had to keep control of yourself. Plus you had to do a little dominance too. So it got to be it was a little hard to concentrate. Like you say, Miriam, you do not run over and dive on her or jump her. Well, I had to be a lady about this, Vi. Yes, I do. And so I had diary entries from her, and I wrote to my sir because he was out of town and he told me to do this. So that's some of the things that I did with him. Oh, there was a Countess Anne. Do you remember that, out of Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember on my knees with my collar, cuffs, the usual familiar dress. And I was on my knees, and he handed me the phone to speak to this woman, to actually speak to another dominant, professional dominant who was very famous. I was sort of like stupefied. I know I did something wrong because I got punished for it, but it was one of those moments that I can only remember because I have a photo of myself on my knees, sitting near this coffee table with the phone in my hand. That's how I remember that moment about Countess Anne. We've done a lot of playing personally ourselves. I named that girl Pussy. I did some small sessions then. Gosh, I'm trying to keep this not triple X. What else did I do? When we played, I always wrote within 3 days what the encounter was. And that's how I end up having my diary book, which I'm glad that I have. And I still have the diary entries, which I typed up. Is it Laura Antonou?
I was just about to ask.
She did publish one. Yeah,
Is that
Laura asked, yeah, she's a writer.
right? That's the
and
journal
she-
that's in Some Women. Is that right?
Yes. Mira and I are published side by side in Some Women. And in the intro to that chapter, it states that I now serve her. And isn't it interesting that our journals are side by side?
Wow. Thought about that after all this time, Vi. Seriously, I think you need to sort of like pop some things out for me.
Pandora says, I remember Mira's ads in Dominant Mystique and Corporal.
Oh
and
my
the
gosh,
other-
yes.
The other Sandy York mags back when I was first getting into the pro scene.
Mr. Transvestian. Let me tell you, there were some things when oh boy, you talk about early Miriam. Boy, I think at this time, I had my place in West New York, and I was working at the castle. That's when I met Tony. I met him, my husband, at the castle. That's a whole nother bunch of stories. Really, I need to, and my wife said that you really need to be up like 12 o'clock tonight. If I go in detail just on how I met him and everything, and when I went to Europe myself, and how I met him in Europe. And in fact, I'll tell you one quick thing. He was across my lap, and I was spanking him, and the maid walks in and goes, oh, that kind of a situation. I went to England, Germany, and Amsterdam. Parts of Germany, I went to Berlin, Hamburg, and stuff like that for myself. So he met me through parts of it. But you talk about early Mir, there are so many parts of it. Vi, you came and was at the house a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
With Tony. Okay.
Well,
Do you want to include some of the stuff in Oklahoma?
I was one of 3 people who recommended you to, or him to you, actually. I'm not sure if you ever forgave me for that because you did end up marrying him. It's something I was actually.
And Andy, remember Andy?
That I introduced you to your husband.
Yeah, but also you introduced me to Andy.
And
Jill did that.
And Patty the Pooch, when Patty was still around. And let me see if I can explain this. Mir is probably one of the most photographed women in the SM world. She has traveled all over the world and graced the covers of more magazines than I could even call to memory. The dungeon was at one point voted one of the 3 prettiest private dungeons in the world. And I can definitely attest to that. The parties were wild. She's also a heck of a hostess. And for those who've never been in her house, she's an amazing cook. But the people who were in and out of Mir's home read like the who's who of the straight/heterosexual world. The people who were in and out of my home read like the who's who of the gay world. When we got together and those 2 worlds finally started to mix, there was some serious turning.
It was necessary.
On its ear. She shocked a lot of old guard Leathermen very pleasantly. She went on club runs with me. One, for those who aren't familiar with the protocols of the old club runs, any sort of scent other than natural and underwear were both a no-no. Now, I explained the rules when she went on her first club run with me, which was to one of the Houston clubs. She ended up getting Slut of the Run, which is the person who collects the
now you're really jumping over
none of the men on the run had the guts to take her panties off. And she wore them just to see if somebody would. So after the run was
excuse me, Vi, was that Texas?
That was Texas. That was Houston, actually.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
We cut the panties in half, had them framed sent them back in the frame to the boys with a little note that said,
Oh, I remember.
The note said
they
what, Mama?
are still hanging in the bar 30 years later.
What did the note say?
You forgot these.
I think
As
you just
many-
made her blush like she makes
Oh
you
my
blush.
God.
As many
We
men
did that
who
while you were,
and
while
therefore
you
down
were
the
in
panties,
Tulsa.
no one would take
Huh?
them off.
I need a photo of the panties, please.
They are still at
Yeah, apparently you can go to the bar and take a photo still, apparently.
there, if I believe, yeah, we sent them down to Dallas. They're still at the Dallas Eagle in their trophy case.
Is that where it's at?
Last time I was down there, now that it's been quite a few years, but the last time I was there, they were still in the trophy case.
I need a photo of the panties,
Oh
folks.
my God, that was, oh my goodness. I
That was
remember.
near. She,
I remember.
her friendship
God.
pin was quite sought after, but part of it was because she knew how to pin correctly. At our home, my home bar, the Toolbox in Tulsa, she pinned one of the surviving men of the Oklahoma linemen. And I was standing off, and he looks up at me and then back at her and said, "That's the first time I've been pinned correctly in 20 years. She fit into my
One
work
thing,
incredibly, and I fit into hers.
yeah, but you taught me a lot, Vi. You taught me a lot of the rules, the proper way of doing it. And you know what? I remember it. And I passed it on whenever I had a chance to.
Hallelujah.
It's nothing like seeing guys walk away with hard-ons. And how many didn't have underwear on at all? Okay? And how to pin through leather or through Levi or whenever and up and down. Okay? I remember all that. That was good. Let me tell you, pinning was very exciting.
We are getting several questions on the proper way to pin. Is that something we
Yes.
can share?
Yes. Now, do a lot of the newbies know it?
That's why they're
Question
asking.
mark.
That's why they're asking. Do you feel like sharing?
Hmm?
What's the proper way to pin?
Somebody supposed to answer?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ma'am, are you willing to share the proper way to pin? Folks are asking.
Oh, you you're talking about through leather is through the
Or denim. Or denim. Denim's probably easier.
huh?
Denim is probably
What?
easier.
What? I'm you're coming through it like erratic.
Pinning through denim is probably easier.
Oh yeah, just slap it in there. You know,
Pinning
right
through
down
denim.
there, right there near the crotch and balls. You know, you've made a point. And then of course you always turn it upside down because you haven't fucked them.
And on one knee.
Yep. Always. Always. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then the leather is always through the hole. Through the hole. You never put the indentation in the leather.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes, the
It's-
Dallas
it's
Eagle is closed, I
Very
believe.
exciting. It's amazing how the response that you give back and the very tenderness and the caring and the touching afterwards was very special to me after doing it.
Very nice. Thank you, ma'am. We got some questions. We got the pinning. Traveler would be interested to know what your view is on changes in the leather world.
Changes? What part of the changes?
Traveler, you want to clarify?
I mean, there's been a lot of changes I don't agree with, but I can't really disagree because life goes on. You know, I'm just used to I like the old world. I like to people earn whatever they wear or proceed to express to others in their dress. A lot of people just put on a whole leather outfit and, hey, I'm cool. All right. And you belong to somebody or not belong to somebody. It's a whole, there's so many things. That question is so wide. I can't really focus in exactly where you want to go with that.
Let me ask it a different way. What did you like best about leather when you were active in the scene back with the time we're talking?
Oh, earning it.
Can you tell
me?
Can you tell me a story about earning something?
Oh, well, I didn't have that much leather because I was like a little diva. You know, I was like a little slave diva. Because I did, you know, to earn and to wear a vest, I didn't really wear a vest. But I knew about the fact that you had to be with your sir or master or whoever, and they decide what the length of time, excuse me, I got hair in my face, the length of time that you are to get that piece. You can have a discussion about it. You know, you have to learn about how many, what you earn in getting your pants. So that makes the game a real game. To me, I miss that structure a lot. Okay. I mean, the scene is a very complicated, elegant game to me. I enjoy the formalities that we address each other a certain way. We present ourselves a certain way. We do this a certain way. A lot of the rules got very muffled because others come in and want to do things in half the time that we did it in. Okay.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that.
Huh?
I absolutely agree with that. That's a conversation I've had a lot.
Yeah.
I do. Traveler, I think that pretty well covers that. Mama, we're in Texas. There's a story about a bar.
Which one?
Is that the same trip with the fights and the arguments?
Oh no, that wasn't in Texas. That was actually in Tulsa.
Okay, are we in the right time frame to discuss that
no,
story?
Dave, did you tell that story, Vi?
No, she didn't.
Yes.
That was the first visit I visited to Vi when I went to visit her. That was the very first visit. I didn't even get out the car good. She had a whole little scheme set up at the gay bar of women that she had it all lined up. It was hysterical.
Wait, whoa.
Wait. A slave had something planned?
You want to go through that and tell them what you set up?
By way of explanation.
Okay.
There is a rather well-known women's bar in Tulsa. It's still a fairly intimate, almost everybody knows everybody. I didn't want to take her to the bar. I wanted to see what would happen if she was with someone else. So I arranged for a girlfriend of mine to be Mir's date for the evening at this bar. Now, she looked like every cowgirl's wet dream. Black leather, including black leather fringe cowboy jacket, cowgirl jacket, cowgirl hat. I had gotten there about 15 minutes early, and I was sitting at the bar talking to
your hat.
Who was the owner.
It was your hat, wasn't it?
It was, I think, one of the Charlie One horses I had given you. So
no, I got the first Charlie One horse that I had the picture in.
Yeah.
I think I had Charlie again.
So Mir walks in with my girlfriend Marty, who Marty, if you could imagine what John Denver looked like female, that would be Marty. Sits Mir down at a table, maybe 10 feet from the bar. I've got a full view of what's going on. And this is the pool room. There are 3 or 4 billiard tables in this room where they were sitting. Marty goes to get Mir a drink. And I'm watching her and watching the couple playing pool. Well, the young girl who shot it got mirrored, kind of the same way I did watching those legs go down the aisle. And she just stood there with the cue on the table, mid-shot, never moved. The person she was playing with, who I'm assuming was her lover, clocked her in the back of the head with a pool cue. That's where it started. So I'm sitting at the bar watching this going, oh, this is going to be an interesting night. Because Mir is oblivious to chaos that goes on around her. She just doesn't see it. So Marty comes.
You were looking for it.
No, I
You
just
were
wanted
looking
to see
for
if
it,
it would
Bob.
happen around you as it always did. So Marty comes back with the drink. This little thing is face down on the pool table doing this in the back of the head. Some little black dyke saddles up next to me at the bar, is staring at Mir to the point where if lasers had been in her eyes, everyone in the bar would have been dead. Looks at me and goes, I'm going home with that. I look at this kid and go, I think she's out of your class. And we're talking for a little while. Marty gets up eventually to go do something else for Mir. This little girl slides in to Marty's seat, proceeds to lay on whatever wrap it was, and slips a gold ring on her finger. Okay? This is going to get more interesting. And while she's talking, there is a crash in the ladies' room, which is around from the pool room and behind the bar. Paula goes running, and I can hear her scream, oh shit. I go running, there is a full-bore fight going on in the ladies' room, and it's missing a sink because the pieces are all over the floor, as is another woman. I went, okay, this is about to get really messy. I've got to get her out of here. So before little black dyke can go back because she got up to do something, I slid into the seat and very quiet, well, loud enough for the bar to deliberately hear me.
We start talking to each other at that time.
I'd love to take you out to dinner. Is there any place you can go? Are you new to Tulsa? I'd happily love to take you for coffee or for food. She said, why don't we? So I took her by the arm and escorted her out of the bar.
That's how we left.
That's how we left. Marty, of course, had her own car and came back to the house and met me. I got a call the next day from the bar owner who said, and I can't even remember how much it was to put that new sink in. And if you ever bring that woman back in here again, I will kill you.
Bye. You set this up and you wanted it to happen.
She was oblivious to 90% of it. No, I wanted to see if it would.
Yeah, but you know it was going to.
I kind of had a feeling.
What had happened was,
Yeah.
There is, for those who have read it, there is an entry in the journal that says, for a woman whose name means peace, you create erotic chaos wherever you go. One of my club brothers in Tulsa was the chief horticulturalist of the Tulsa Zoo. And Tulsa has an award-winning zoo.
I know
it was an Oklahoma day. It was about 90 degrees. And Mir was wearing a taupe silk pantsuit. Now, for those women,
I started to sweat.
What happens when silk gets wet?
It clings.
Basically, it does more than cling. It goes invisible.
It sticks to you, right?
Now, I knew that Bo had sent someone to meet us because he was going to give us a behind-the-scenes tour of the zoo.
Oh, yeah.
So we're standing, inside the entrance, and I'm looking for the golf cart, and the golf cart comes running down. I knew this is who Bo sent, and the guy is doing this. He hit a telephone pole, knocked that cart backward on its rear wheels, staring at her. Now he hit the, I was trying very hard not to laugh because I could tell as he's driving, he isn't looking at the road, he's looking dead at her. So once he got over the initial shock and the embarrassment,
I had to look right.
a dent in the front of the car, half the staff is rushing to help him. It's not a big deal. We pull the cart down. And I very casually, didn't Mr. Handy sent you? Yes, he sent me to bring you to him. We got in the cart and drove off. Did I mention erotic chaos?
The comments are mentioning the Mayhem commercials for Allstate.
Kinda. And the funny thing was, when we were in Paris together, Parisians are so much more laid back and they're accustomed to a level of beauty. So when we were in Paris
I don't
together,
remember now.
we're walking down the street and she got the occasional stare of appreciation. Nothing rude, just, someone who is appreciating beauty. In the United States, it was mayhem with her. And it got to the point where I was laughing about damn near anything because I knew if we were out in public together, something was going to happen. Mere watching became sport for me.
You're watching.
That's fantastic. That is
About the
fantastic.
time when we were in the taxi and we told the taxi to stop because we saw those shirts that we bought in Paris. You remember those shirts? The costume, authentic shirt.
Literally, I just gave the last 3 to my leather grandson. I gave them to Damien. He looks incredible.
Oh man, I wore mine out. I have one left, but the other, they're gone. They're worn out. I had to throw them out. That's how bad they were. I was wearing them everywhere. But about the guy that was what was he in with the zoo?
That was Bo
Remember
Handy. He was the head horticulturalist there.
What was his name?
Bo Handy. Bo.
Okay. How about the strip that I did
The
at your
fact
house?
that you hog-tied 3 of my club brothers in their
Hey, you might tell it right. You gotta tell it right. Come on. Now, you guys were sitting there. I was gonna do a striptease or some semi-strip, that kind of a thing. And he had 2 of his boys there. One he's been with a woman, right? And the other has not been with a woman. Am I right?
Yes, Steve had been married.
You remember his name?
It was an early polyamorous relationship. Bo Handy, Steve Davis, Michael Duncan. Now, Bo and Michael taught Mia to ride. And she developed quite a natural seat. They also tried to teach her how to rope. In some ways, I'm really glad it didn't work because she could all time me anyway. I didn't need her having bull riding skills.
And I kept that Larry too for a long time.
And she was on their paint because we all rodeoed together. Arms out, bareback, riding his pony. And she made it look easy. But then she decided that she was going to have an interesting form of thank you. Now, Michael, who is the youngest, had the classic almost little boy girls have cooties. The eldest, Steve, had been married. And Bo was just what the fuck, he was game for anything. But Bo is at
Weren't you smoking cigars at the time when I was doing this? And you snatched the cigar out of
I had to grab this. Well, I was swinging a whip, but that's a whole different ballgame. She cross-tied him to the gate of his own stable. And
But that's another story when I was out there.
that suddenly decided maybe girls didn't have cooties after all. Oh,
We took pictures. We took pictures and we gave the pictures to Bo. Didn't we? We took Polaroids or something.
Oh, hang on one second, man.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
One more time, Mama, please.
Oh, you had that. Oh my God, I haven't seen that picture in years. Oh my
and for the record, this is what she did to my club brothers.
I remember that day. That was so much fun.
One was tied to one gate, one was tied to the other. The third came home and found them both in this condition.
Mir, please tell us about that day.
Well, it was just like, you know, I know these are gay men. I had to get them comfortable enough that the fact they would not be offended by me playing with them. That was the main thing. So it was very comfortable with, well, let me get some straps and this and that and everything. Take a picture. But that was, it was just, to me, it was loving, very loving that I could do this. And also it's more of a power trip too, especially when you can take a gay man down.
And she left both of them. Bo
Works
came
for me.
home and thought it was the greatest gift he'd ever been given.
It was so much fun. That was interesting. What it was? Oh, you got these pictures? Where you get these pictures from, Vi?
With my eyes closed or shut.
Don't pull that one on me. I haven't seen those in years.
They sit in my headboard.
Ladies, we are 18 minutes from 11 o'clock. So y'all can start thinking about
What?
we're 18 minutes from 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So y'all need to start thinking about when you're going to be done. There's a couple of questions that I need to circle back to.
And
Or the
just for
crowd's gonna
shits
kill
and
me.
giggles, let's throw this one up. All I wanted to do was take a load off my feet. You don't, however, do that on the Queen's throne.
Look at the attitude coming through that picture. Wow.
You got a little bit reflective, but they can see. Look at this.
The question has been asked, and it's been on my mind since you told us how long it would take to tell us the stories. And this also ties
Like
in
1
with
o'clock.
an idea I have that I've asked the crowd about, and they're all for it. Perhaps you'd be interested in being our first guest. I want to do a second version of these Zooms, and I think we're going to call it LOFA in honor of Mama's little association that we've joked about for years, where we get folks that have been around a while to just sit down and tell stories. And the crowd will be upset if I don't ask you if you would like to come back, and if you would consider being, if not the first, one of the early participants or guests for that Zoom.
I don't mind the fact that I just have to be censored.
We won't censor this one here.
That's the problem, okay? Because I'm cutting out a lot that, you know, whatever.
As long as
You know
we
what I
can,
mean?
as long as we can archive it at the library where folks can go and see it, it doesn't have to go up. Or we could do a censored version, but no, those could be uncensored. So just put that in your thoughts.
A censored version or uncensored.
We can do it uncensored, and we'll figure out what we can do with it after that. But this crowd will probably come after me if I don't get back to the beatings. So let's go back to the beatings, please. And I have a hand up.
Here's the setup for that story. For reasons that are way too long to go into, I used to keep a loaded Derringer in my headboard.
Oh,
Now, whenever my lady was
are you
around,
going into this story in detail, Vi?
what the hell?
Safely.
Let's see if I
Safely.
can gloss over this safely.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I
There you go.
also slept in.
I love this one.
I also slept in chains. Now, you would have to have picked up my chains to understand that. They were a gift from my lady, and they weighed not quite 7 pounds. You learned to turn very carefully because you only had to hit yourself in the head once. Whenever she was there, I was always in chains. It was her prerogative to unlock them or not unlock them when I got up or before I got up. One morning she bounced into my room. Rather than unlocking the chain, she knew I kept the gun in the headboard. And things got very erotic from there. To the point where it could be said that bodily fluid and gun fluid do not work well together. As a matter of fact, the gun hasn't fired since.
Why not? When it had a condom on it.
Only for part of it. Well, more than just what the condom covered went into places where guns should not normally go.
Very nicely done, Mama.
Now, I would swear to you that I said, "Milady, that gun is loaded." Now, evidently what came out was, ugh. I said it again, "Milady, that gun is loaded." But somewhere between the brain and the mouth came out, whoa. So anyway, and she kept saying, "Now that you have heard that voice, you know, I could kill you here and now. I could just pull the trigger and blow you out of here right now. And you'd die smiling," and she'd be right. Well, when I moved back into at least the stratosphere that my body should have been on, moving in slowly from Saturn and Jupiter back to, places a little closer to the Earth.
Let me explain to you what I remember of that. I remember the fact that I got scared about you. You were so far gone. That I thought, no, really, you were really gone.
I was gone.
And you could not stop.
Orgasm.
Okay. And you kept coming and coming. And then at the point there, I went like, okay. I was thinking, I went like, uh-oh, this is, and she could not stop.
The problem is I knew something the lady didn't. Because when you said you could come and go at the same time, I knew she was correct. She didn't. So when I finally got back to the stratosphere that Earth exists in, and she was lying beside me and I was still chained, I grabbed the gun, flipped the safety on, opened the barrel, and dropped out 2 bullets. Believe me when I tell you, all hell broke loose. She was furious. I mean, absolutely furious. Because it was at that time she realized she actually could have killed me. That second beating, right there.
I could see that would be a pretty good beating.
Everyone deserves one every now and then. Okay?
I would think that one's on the deserving list.
Yeah, really. But you know what? I mean, I started the gun thing with Billy in the very first couple months when I got the plane. So the gun thing was always and then I found someone who actually had a gun and a real one. Oh yeah, I was gonna go for it.
She did.
Huh?
And that kind of
mind
alter could not have happened had that chamber been empty. that
Mhm.
real honest to God edge was in the fact
Yeah.
that, yes,
Yes,
I
that's right.
could have
Yeah.
died in that scene. And the orgasm was like nothing I have felt since.
That was a scary one, honey. Your orgasm just went on for like, I don't know how long. I can't remember how long. That's the part I do remember about that.
I was so far out of my own known universe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember all of the places that I went visiting.
And Zier has the remarkable luck of following that story. Zier, do you want to unmute?
Hello, Mama Bai and Mistress Mir. So I happen to have a fetish world from 2002. It was gifted to me, and I can turn to page 27 and
Oh
read
my God.
private, discreet, exclusive. I'll keep your innermost fantasies just between you and me. No one will ever know our little secret. Just the select few who demand the best, Miss Mia. So my curious question is, can you take me back to 2002 and tell me of a good time that may have
Oh,
come?
please. I can't separate the years, love.
You can't.
Come on. I can't start separating every single solitary year.
So that's
It's
halfway.
almost got, you almost have to pinpoint things because everything becomes one big warm glow. And you know yourself, when you've been playing for so long or certain things, after a while, they become this one big smile on your face. Now, if someone asks you to pinpoint the exact that, you go, now come on, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Okay.
Okay. Well, I will expand the question.
Yeah, but you know what? You're going to hear about different things around that time. You'll hear about it. Okay. I just got to focus in on something that happened around that particular time.
Thank you, Mitch.
2002. Wow. Wow. He really jumped. You jumped a few years.
That was 20 years ago exactly.
Were you
Yeah,
back?
but that's still a few years. I was already, 2002 is when I met MJ.
Yes, that's what I was wondering. Were you and MJ together at that point?
In 2002, that's when I met her. Yes.
MJ is Mir's wife. And they've been married, what, 15 years now?
No, 12.
12.
And
We've
there
been
it
together
is.
20.
There's a good one. You met your wife in 2002. I'll take that one.
Okay, that's easy. That was easy because then you all of a sudden jumped from Vibe back in the nine. When was those years? Tulsa? What years was Tulsa? Late 80s? When were you in Tulsa?
We got to Tulsa in 88 and didn't leave until 96.
Okay.
So you were in Tulsa, you were in Tulsa with me so often. You were in Tulsa with me right after Mom's death. That first Christmas I thought would destroy me. I had said earlier, of all the death in my life, and when you come from a big family, ultimately you will go to a lot of weddings and a lot of funerals. The only one that ever really fucked my head up was my mother's death. Mira and my mother lived about 25 miles from each other. And when my mother was in the hospital, Mira was just always coming to visit her. As a matter of fact, one time she walked into my mother's room. I was sitting, she came in the door, And she had just come from the gym and she was wearing a full-length fox coat, which she draped over the chair. Now, I was sitting on the other side of the bed, but my mother, I still want to grow up to be half the woman she was. My mother was an appreciator of great beauty. Mira took the coat off and she was in gym clothes, which could have come out of a fashion magazine when she wore them.
Please.
And Mom reached out and groped her. In that split second, Mira looked up at me like, how could you do that in front of your mother? Until she realized I was on the other side of the bed. I'm not the one who grabbed her.
It read, and she spiked. She
I thought it was
spiked.
funny as hell.
Remember that.
But
Yep.
Mom died
Yep.
when Mom was at her sickest. Mira said, I'm having a Christmas party. And I said, I haven't left the hospital in 3 weeks. She said, you will be at this party or I will send someone to get you. I went to the party. Mira was at my mother's funeral. When I was going crazy, she was always there. When I had to write the thank you notes, she just appeared in my office.
Yeah, wow.
She saw me through my worst. It was easy to give her the best that I had.
You gave me, you told me to pick something out of your mother's library too. I still got the book. And I still have the silver little container. You know what I keep in there. Okay? Still got that. I don't know. I know where I got it. Thank you very much, Vi.
As a matter of
And you
fact,
took, and you went to your safety deposit box too.
Yeah.
And you gave me a couple of rings. I have one, but I kept it for a few years, the black big onyx one.
Black onyx, yes.
Yes. But I gave it back to you.
I gave her an onyx and diamond ring that was in the shape of my initial. I wore the collar, she wore the ring. And so I didn't need the other one, which she gave back to me.
You remember this?
Oh yeah. There's something about a beautiful woman in jewels that just, well.
That's not being insulting, but that's, I still have it. I have it on my, it's very,
Beautiful women in
I
jewels.
got compliment. Huh?
Beautiful women in
Yes,
jewels, just, well, you know.
Your V, I wear it only upon occasion because it's a heavy ring. And when I wear it, I don't wear with something else on that hand. So I have this on this finger here, but I have this on this. I remember you getting this one. Okay. How many years has it been by?
30. Said 30.
I still have it.
30
Yes.
since that one.
Mm-hmm.
Traveler asked earlier.
Poetry, but I have a feeling people have questions, milady, about certain entries, and if they are particular, I guess now is the time to read them to you and get your response on them. I know at one point Pandora had said something about wanting to read one, and I think there were a few others.
I feel I need to tell you it is 2 minutes to 11 so that you can make the decision about time. And I do want to say that Traveler asked earlier about protocols.
I knew this was going to happen.
And I'm hoping if you've been
Entries in
watching
bed.
Mir and Vi interact, you've picked up some protocols and some rules. And I don't think anybody could tell you any better than you've watched it this evening. Ma'ams, how are we doing for time? Do we want to schedule round 2 or do we want to go ahead right now?
You can go. You can go.
Vi, you good?
Yeah.
Pandora, did you have a passage?
No, I was, that was part of my $1,200. I'll personally read it to the person who gives me $1,200 and then give the money to the library. So I'm just saying. Sorry, that was rude of me not to have the video on. I apologize.
No worries. Zier says
Oh,
they have another one if we'd like. And I would love to see what else is there. Let me get Sir Oya back in.
Okay, all right, I got one more. So there
yeah.
was a white full-length fur coat that had removable sleeves
Oh,
and removable lower half. Can you tell me of a fond memory that you have in that coat that I now
I wore
possess?
it a lot of times. I wore it to a lot of, because it was, was it, it was certain type of lamb, Persian lamb, or
It was
the
definitely
long
lambskin.
hair.
Yep.
Yeah. And I got it at a store called Canadian, and I begged Tony for it. Because I just thought this was so cool that the fact that the bottom came off. I've had that coat up to the time. You know what? And if you put me on the spot, I think I still have that coat. Okay. What made it so nice is the fact that I could just take off the bottom part and just wear seam stuff, or take off the sleeves when we get too hot. Or you really want to vamp it up and just wear stockings and garters and everything underneath. And because it had ties, like about, shoestring ties, maybe about 5 down. So that made it fun to just play with it and use it. But inside it'd be too hot. It really was too hot to actually use inside the house.
Ma'am,
for playing.
I believe you missed the last part of the question. Sir, would you repeat the
What was the
last part?
question? He
The
asked
last
about the scenes in it. I
the
don't.
last
I
the
can't
last
recall.
part was that it was gifted to me.
You gave it to
Recently.
Max, my lady.
Really?
You gave
And
it.
now I have it.
I don't have it.
It's in DC with me.
Oh my gosh!
Essentially,
It found a home.
It has a home.
But
your
I
11th
don't know
grandchild has that coat now.
what that thing is moving still.
It is still moving.
Did you get all 3 pieces?
I have all the sleeve. I have the sleeves, the bottom. Yes.
Great. That is, I love it. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Sir, you
That's
seem to have
great.
a magic hat of tricks. Is that?
I don't even know what I got in here, what I don't. Because when I came in here, I had to downsize, and I got rid of about half of my stuff. And a lot of it I donated to Judy.
What the- Someone's fire
I'm
alarm?
working on it. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
I done a lot of donations through Judy, which we did for Planned Parenthood. Oh my God, I have been donating through Judy for at least 25 years. And I just thought maybe I came with that, but I had to really downsize. So I didn't forget I gave it to Max. I said, I have a piece of Max in here too, that she gave to me. That was the skins with the fur, with the tails. I have that here. Okay, so we exchanged. That's great. That is lovely. Thank you for telling me that. That is so cool. That is so very cool.
I would show it to you, but I actually have it being treated and cared for so I could keep it alive and moving.
Wow, how long did I have that? A long time. Yeah, from the 80s.
I bet it has great energy.
Have you had it on?
Stunning energy. I have had it on. And when I step down from Mr. Maryland leather this weekend, I'll be wearing it also.
Pictures, please. I'm sure we'll see it, but pictures, please.
I love it. Woo! That is unbelievable.
Sorry. Ron, you guys
Unbelievable.
have a good night. Thank you for coming. All right, folks, who's got questions? You can raise your hands. You guys have been way too quiet. Pulse, I am terribly concerned about how quiet you've been.
I've been letting everybody else talk, and Miss Mira is always fascinating. And the question I have
Yes.
isn't in the book. Ma'am, let's talk about Blackbeat, because you send Mom into orbit several times. The knife at Blackbeat, because there's a backstory that you don't know about. Do you remember that, where Mom was it was in another time where she was in stress, and she's hiding.
I'm back.
What
It was
story
another
was
time when she
this?
was in stress and you came to bail her out. She had been really under the gun. We had been just going, and she was at her wit's end, and you showed up and whisked her off to dinner and the movie and whatever else happened afterwards. But then you guys got into one of those sessions afterwards, and then there was like I said, there's a backstory to it, but tell your side of it first, and then I'll give you the backstory.
Was this a special movie, MJ?
I don't know if it was a
this
movie, but
special...
you took her to dinner in a
We went
special
out.
place.
Was this the when I wore a special thing on my arm?
And then proceeded to damn near slit my throat.
All right, Mama.
We went to see Schindler's List.
Ma'am.
We didn't go to a movie that night. We went to dinner.
We went to see Schindler's
to my
List.
room.
Ma'am.
And there was a knife.
I'm going to end the official Librarian Speaks.
Yeah, you can stop the recording.
We are going to move on to the after party. I hope everybody enjoyed Mr. Smear and Mama Vi sharing stories. Ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your history with us this evening. I was watching the gallery. Everybody was hanging on every word. There were like 2 questions the whole time. They were just glued to it. Thank you very much for attending.